Hey everybody, we're live and the Coliseum JPA meeting is on. I'm going to see if I can turn down the volume from the thing there because they've got the sound going. There, the volume is down. I got that. And yet, here they are. Okay, so welcome. They haven't started yet. When they do, I will crank up the volume. Those of you who are YouTubers, and very important thing to know, if you are in a situation where you're filming or live streaming an event like this one, and they happen to play music like, for example, Fleetwood Mac, which I love, depending on the song, your entire live stream may be restricted from visibility around the world. It only takes maybe 30 seconds, sometimes something like that. You can take that out. They'll let you take it out. But the trouble is the technology is such that an entire 2-hour broadcast can be restricted from view by just 10 seconds of music that belongs to Fleetwood Mac that you didn't play, but they played in their area. Okay, so what you have to do is just simply go and turn off the volume until they get ready to start, and you win. There you go, you win. So it's very important to keep that in mind. They're not trying to make the environment perfect for you to broadcast it, because I'm certainly watched these and I've talked about this before. Because if they did, they would say, oh, hey, Zay's trying to do this, so let's not play the music. To which they would say, heck with that, we want to hear music. And in a way, I don't blame them. So here's a technical solution, right? I believe in always finding the technical solution to any problem. Now, me aside, the question that's really on your mind is what's on the agenda. And the board package, I'm going to read to you really quick. The board package, I'm not going to take away from the image there. All right. But let me turn up the volume and make sure that we're not. Well, actually, you know what? I don't see everybody else sitting down. So when I see the other members seating, particularly Chairman Rebecca, then when Rebecca comes up to sit down, then I'll do it. But the unfortunate one with the APA, as you can see, is it's 4 minutes beyond or past the hour to start, and there's no quorum. I'm going to send a text to Rebecca and say, say, here's to a great meeting. Here's to a great meeting. Great meeting. Here's to a great. Well, there's Nate. Okay. Here's to a great. Now, if you don't know who Nate is the Alameda County Supervisor, who sat on the JPA for several years now. Message failed to send. Let me try that again. Don't know why that happened. Let me try this. Let's see, copy. Okay. There. All right. There. That worked. Okay. So that worked. All right. So anyway. All right. So as you can see, we don't have a quorum, folks. We do not have a quorum. All right. Well, it's changing now. We have District 6 Supervisor Kevin Jenkins. Well, so we're almost there. We're almost there. Let me also see where we are in terms of the sound situation. Let's see here. You see here. Window. Output volume there.
Our last meeting of the year. So happy holidays and welcome. Thank you for joining us. And we may, noting the presence of a quorum, we may go ahead and call the meeting to order.
Yay.
Welcome to the meeting of the Oakland-Alameda County Coliseum Authority. Friday, December 15th, 2023 is 8:37 a.m. If members of the public would like to speak on items, when the time to address items on the agenda is announced, you will be prompted to raise your hand so that we may see the number of speakers in the queue. We will note the last name.
I hope you all can hear me, but I cannot hear you yet.
Identifiers of each raised hand one by one to allow comment. Please do not raise your hand before the invitation to speak. The host will lower the hands of those who raise their hands before the invitation. All members of the public at the time of the announcement will have the opportunity to comment on the agenda items. Members of the public will also have the opportunity to comment on items not on this agenda during open forum.
Dave Albert, he's the Alameda County Supervisor.
To limit background noise, please remain muted until your name is called, unmute to respond, then remute immediately after response. On roll call for today, please respond present when your name is called. Commissioner Baker is excused. Commissioner Halbert
Is on the Zoom.
is on Zoom.
Is the
Commissioner Halbert, can you respond to roll call?
You say can't hear you.
I'll go back to them. Commissioner Iglesias.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning. Commissioner Thompson is excused. Commissioner Bukasin is excused. Vice Chair Miley.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Kaplan.
here?
And Commissioner Halbert.
Commissioner Hubbard appears to be having some audio troubles.
Yeah.
It looks like he said present. All right.
Yeah, but
Yes, are the other folks on the Zoom hearing us?
Yeah.
Recording in progress.
There.
so I'm trying to straighten out because Dave Halbert said he couldn't hear. So they're asking him questions to respond. And, yeah. CS. But he said, okay.
Is Commissioner Halbert Zoom user?
Okay, yes, that's his phone.
Okay.
We can promote that to panelists and he'll be able to hear us. Thank you all so much. For
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes, we can
these,
hear you now. We can hear you now. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, can you
Commissioner Halbert?
hear me now?
Oh, can you unmute him?
When I was in the audience in the waiting room, I could hear you. Now that I'm promoted to panelist, I cannot hear you. That's on my phone.
That's very odd.
Audio from any of the remote speakers?
Can user Craig Boyer please try to speak?
Yeah, I can speak.
Commissioner Halbert's phone. He says when it was promoted to panelist, the sound cut out.
It's unmuted.
Audio test, I should be getting the beeps like we were getting earlier.
Hello, hello?
We can hear you.
Okay, now I can hear you. So my phone seems to be working. The computer does not, so keep me on the phone. Thank you. I'm good now.
Okay, we see Commissioner Halbert. Can you hear us now? Okay, that's a yes.
Technical difficulties.
Commissioner Halbert, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me? And just to be really clear, every one of those technical difficulties was my bad. We've only done Zoom for 3 years, and I just figured out that there's a button that I don't know about. But anyway, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Melissa can hear me. Okay, good.
Well, the yeses are only coming from us on Zoom. I don't know if we can hear you in the actual in-person room. But you and Melissa hears you, but we're both on Zoom.
Halbert is present.
No,
Let us
Can you hear?
proceed.
can you hear me?
The next,
Let me email Andrea and see if I can catch her.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's-
Okay.
And
Nate's
Nate, I
in
think is
person.
Nate there?
the next item would be.
I'm gonna text him then, right now.
Yes, thank you. I just realized
New
that.
business.
Okay, colleagues, we have approval of minutes. Are there questions or a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second on approval of the minutes. Seeing no other hands, we may call the roll.
You're supposed to take open comment. Public comment.
Oh, Grace, I didn't see them.
Remember, if the public would like to speak on this item, please raise your hand. And there is a commenter. We wouldn't be able to hear the comments.
Let's see, let's try and see if it works.
Happy holidays, everyone. Can you hear
Mr.
me?
Abraham, you're allowed to speak.
Oh, thank you. Happy holidays, everyone. When the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority was first established, it was done so because the idea was, as a number of you may remember,
Is the sound on this laptop?
it was, can you hear me?
Our alert testing, I'm not sure.
They can't hear us on Zoom.
Oh, I can hear you. I can hear
Right,
you.
I'm on Zoom. All the
Okay.
Zoom people can hear each other, but they cannot hear us.
Wow. Interesting. Holy wall.
Right.
So,
But there's a chat. I think Melissa just put a chat in, and I think they now know that we can't hear them.
oh,
Or
okay.
I shouldn't say that. They can't hear us. We can hear them.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Huh.
Yeah, we're working.
Well, okay, I'm still here.
They'll get it fixed in a minute. They'll get it fixed.
Okay. Should I just go ahead and go on my little spiel?
I would wait. Just wait. Hold on.
Sounds good.
Okay,
All right.
all right, we may proceed.
Rebecca, can you hear the Zoom attendees?
Welcome. Thank you to our awesome technical crew here. It is now fixed. We can hear you now.
Okay. Wait a minute. Do I need to be yeah, okay, good. I'll start.
Yes, please do.
A number of you may remember that when the Coliseum Authority was started, it was because the idea was it was our money now because of the bond issue. But we never established the land around the Coliseum as a stadium district. Fast forward to today, and over the last 3 years, stadium districts have exploded in activity and visibility. There's even a YouTube video called The Rise of the Stadium District. I'm simply advocating that we formally recognize, not so much by resolution, but by name, even in terms of creating an enhanced infrastructure financing district, the district as a stadium district. Now, will that change anything? No, but well, in a sense, it will. It will place more focus on the need to build and finish Coliseum City, which was the forerunner, actually really one of the first stadium districts and model of what we have today. But now stadium districts are all over the place. They're in Atlanta, Lansing, Michigan. Virginia's considering a brand new one. Chicago's a brand new one. Seattle, the list goes on. Los Angeles as well. They are the new economic development tool for the modern age because of the visibility of sports heightened by the existence of the internet. So I'm really advocating that we not only just designate this a stadium district, but really get on a long-term plan. And a number of you are concerned about the athletics and whether or not they spend. You have to have them work a plan. You have to take a plan to this old-fashioned economic development work, and then provide an incentive package and have them build. You can't say that, hey, they're in Las Vegas and therefore they're not here. That is not true. We have to get to work, folks. We have a lot of work to go do. I think my time's up, right?
Thank you. There are no additional attendees with their hands raised.
Thank you so much. So again, we are on the minutes of the last meeting, and I would note that Zenny's comments were very much on point because at our last meeting, we had a great discussion about the potential value of doing an enhanced infrastructure district here to strengthen the long-term future and be able to redevelop this area. So excited for us to continue working on that. And if there are no other questions or comments on the minute, having solved the audio problems. Okay, we may call the roll.
Thank you. For item number 4, approval of the minutes, moved by Commissioner Jenkins, seconded by Commissioner Iglesias. Commissioner Halpert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Iglesias?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Miley?
Aye. Yes.
And Chair Kaplan?
Aye.
That is 5 ayes. Next item on the agenda, item 5, reports, Executive Director report.
No speakers on open forum?
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure what, we had an audio problem with open forum. Were there any speakers on open forum?
I can go back to open forum.
No, let's keep going.
We'll go with 5A.
Yeah, I want to get to the action items before people have to leave.
Okay, very good. Madam Chair, members of the board, I only have one item to review with you. It is an amendment to the Oakland sound amplification ordinance. We have, in the last 2 years, been able, through the emergency authority granted to the city administrator, to extend outdoor events, stadium events, basically, to the item of 11 p.m. The current municipal code restricts outdoor activities up until 10 p.m. Now that the emergency authority of the administrator has expired, we have requested that the city of Oakland amend its municipal code to allow events to occur up until 11 p.m. This does not impact the arena at all. These are all events outdoors. We're not proposing that events in the parking lot be 11 p.m. Because there are no sound barriers of any kind. There are in the stadium. We have an opportunity, once the A's have exited, to market the stadium for events. Generally, these are music events. There is a sensitivity and awareness that sound can be a problem for our surrounding neighbors. It should be remembered that when the complex was developed, this was very, very much an industrial area. We have had residential units built closer to the stadium in recent years. We have not received, in the last 4 years, many complaints of any kind. Occasionally there are complaints from A's games, and I think that has more to do with their fireworks than any music coming out of the stadium. We've had very, very few complaints of musical events in the stadium. The fact of the matter is there have not been that many of them. We're requesting that the city extend the sound amplification ordinance to 11 p.m. to put us in a competitive position with the Giants Stadium, with Levi Stadium. That's our competition. There are really not that many events in the area that require that number of seats. But if we are restricted to 10 p.m., we will not be competitive and we'll probably lose out on a few opportunities. We have had a number of conversations with the staff in preparing this draft ordinance. Most recently, however, I do want to request that this will be a 3-year pilot project as opposed to 2 years, which was our initial thinking, having it coincide with what appeared and still appears to be the A's leaving, and in 2026, assuming that they become 50% owners. We think there will be a transition period, and we would request that this pilot be approved for up to 3 years. We had a very comprehensive survey of the surrounding area and beyond the surrounding area. The survey results were somewhat mixed. And one of the things we did not ask in the survey, we only talked about 10 events. We didn't ask whether or not there were less events and how people might respond. Some had no opinion, some were fine with it, some opposed. I would point out one of the things I reacted to with our survey, and I didn't catch this when the survey was being conducted. We surveyed people north of the 580 freeway. And I would argue that any sound that people are hearing north of the 580 freeway is coming from the freeway. It's not coming from any stadium activities. In any event, the number of complaints, that we have a historical record of those, have been very, very few. Even when the A's and the Raiders were both, and when we had occasional music events in the stadium. So with that, I would strongly recommend that we request that the city council amend the municipal code to allow us to have up to 10 events, and that would be a stretch. If we could garner 10 events in the stadium, I will dance on top of the arena. This is a highly competitive market, and so not likely to happen, but just in case we strike gold, we want to be able in a position to attract as many events as we possibly can. We have conditioned our request on our, at the Joint Powers Authority expense, conducting an engineering sound testing. We will hire an engineering firm to come out and test the sound at one of our major events in the stadium, and a musical event. It's generally the music that the sound is traveling. One of the things I did learn, we would receive a complaint from one resident right on the Alameda border, and I was curious. That's for that area. This is the Park Avenue Bridge. How that's quite a distance from the stadium, but I did learn when this issue was first raised that sound travels through water.
Yes.
And that is one of the reasons sometimes we get an occasional complaint from Alameda and do not receive complaints nearest to the stadium. But all of that will be taken into consideration. We do estimate that with a limited number of events at the stadium, we will net $2 million a year. And so there are major financial impacts, positive impacts, if we do this. We've also promised to make periodic reports to this board and to the council of any complaints that we receive. With that, I'll be happy to respond to any questions or comments you may have.
Well, thank you so much for the report, and also thank you for your diligence in pursuing all the various ways that we can strengthen the functioning here and bring in additional revenue, which of course is revenue that ultimately serves the taxpayers of both the city and the county. So thank you for that. This is not an action item today. So colleagues, any questions or comments on this item? Yes, Commissioner.
The memo, it says a 2-year pilot program. So
I plan to modify that. Thank you for pointing that out, because since I wrote that, I had further conversation with the staff, and we're going to request 3 years for the mentioned. Reason I mentioned that is allow for some transition should the A's purchase is consummated.
Thank you. Any other comments on this section, or we can go to the next section of the report? Okay, let's proceed with the next part.
Item 5B, General Manager's Board Report. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll start with the event activity. There's a few events that announced this week and one that was omitted. Harlem Globetrotters happening next month, January 11th and 12th. We have Nicki Minaj that was announced this week, March 1st, 2024. And the Love Hard Tour, March 28th, 2024, with Keisha Cole, Trey Songz, Jaheim, and K. Michelle. And then I just wanted to briefly discuss our Oakland Arena 2024 marketing campaign. 2023 has been an amazing year at Oakland Arena on many fronts, and I'm so proud of everything that we've accomplished. Multiple arena records were broken, and we ended the term with the highest revenue surplus in arena history. There were multiple community events hosted in support of Oakland and Alameda County through our foundation. Sustainability, water conservation, and waste diversion efforts were increased. With the guest experience always top of mind, beautification projects have also been kicked off around the property. Championship Plaza repaving happened this week, you'll notice as you leave here. Parking lot painting happened the last few weeks. It looks amazing in the parking lot. New wayfinding signage and indoor and outdoor arena branding will be going up in the next few weeks. These arena projects all roll into our 2024 marketing campaign that you will start seeing soon, highlighting how proud we are to be here in the center of Oakland and Alameda County, and our proud history and nostalgia of the amazing talent that Oakland Arena hosts. I'm excited to share more about this activation and new partnerships with local entities like Oaklandish as we roll out the new initiative in the coming weeks, focusing on being proud. Thank you.
Proud to be here.
Thank you. Anything else you wanted to add? All good?
Any questions?
Thank you. Well, yes. Well, first, let me say again, I know we talked about this more extensively last time, but thank you so much for the incredible dedication for you and all the staff here that has gone into really increasing the bookings and the revenue and the prominence of these facilities, and having more and more people come to them and use them and experience them and spend their money here, that then helps serve our communities throughout Oakland and Alameda County. Colleagues, are there any further questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, let's see if there's any. Commissioner Iglesias, go ahead.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And yeah, again, I just fully support Chair's comments. Congratulations to you, General Manager Strange, to you and your team for everything you're doing. It's really awesome. And really excited about the partnership with Oakland-Alameda. I think Angela and her team they're just a great partner, the way they promote Oakland. And so whatever you guys are doing with them, yeah, we fully support. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. And so at this time, we will check for public speakers for item 5.
For members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. After your name is called, you will have 2 minutes to speak. I see 2 people in the queue, Abraham and Bobbitt. Mr. Abraham, you're allowed to speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. The matter of the noise issue came up, if memory serves, 5 years ago. And I'm going to make the same comment that I made then. I believe we need a public service announcement just as a form of risk management so that when people do call in, and as I recall back then, it was rather frequent, at least they can't say, or we can't offer that it wasn't on television late night, during after ESPN broadcast or something of that order. Right now, there's no such effort. It's, you kind of be bombarded, and it's as if, well, we're not telling anybody. Of course, all this will be eliminated with Dome Stadium, but that's another conversation. But I still assert that we have a public service announcement regarding, in a way of marketing too, the events, which helps out with the other effort. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ray Bobbitt. You're allowed to speak.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to personally, again, I had the great opportunity to meet with Nicole yesterday, but just wanted to again reinforce how great of a job that Nicole, the team, Henry, and this entire commission has done on the arena and the success of the arena. I think the indication and the inspiration is that, when the Warriors departed, the 40 additional dates that became available not only weren't missed, but they made their arena greater. And I think that it's an inspiration. It helps us with respect to our promotion and our marketing of the site, and it, the marketability is critical. And so just wanted to, again, just really thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Henry. Thank this body for allowing for there to be future and continued vision. This site is the most sought after and developable site in the country. And we will certainly realize all of that vision as we move forward to a new beginning. But it starts with the inspiration of the arena and how well it's done. And I think that has to be more. Thank you again for everything you all of you have done. And we just wanted to say about that on behalf of the ASCG. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last speaker in the queue.
Thank you so much. And so for item 5, we do not need a vote. So thank you very much. And we can proceed with the next item.
Item number 6, new business, 6A, resolution adopting the regular meeting calendar of the Board of Commissioners for calendar year 2024.
All righty. So colleagues, you will note in your packet under item 6A, we have the proposed schedule for our meetings starting January 19th, 2024, and continuing thereafter every third Friday thereafter. And the one thing I would note is it does list a date in August, but it has been historically our practice not to meet in August. So I would just note that to my colleagues. And let me see if there are any questions or comments on this item.
Move the item.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Motion by Jenkins, second by Miley. Are there any public speakers on this item?
For members of the public wishing to speak, please raise your hand. At this time, I do not see anyone with their hand raised in the queue.
Okay, we may call the roll.
For item 6A, resolution adopting the regular meeting calendar of the Board of Commissioners for calendar year 2024. Commissioner Harbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Iglesias?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Vice Chair Miley,
Yes.
and Chair Kaplan.
Aye.
That is 5 ayes. Next item on the agenda, resolution appointing Chair and Vice Chair of Board of Commissioners for calendar year 2024.
Thank you. Mr. Gardner?
Madam Chair and members of the board, the joint exercise of powers agreement calls for the election of the chair and the vice chair each year. Your long-standing tradition, as far back as we can tell, has been that the chair has historically served 2 years, and the vice chair likewise. However, again, because of the joint exercise of powers agreement, this does require that you elect a chair each year. And that's the reason the matter is before you.
Thank you so much. And so we have elected for 1 year as per the rules, Mr. Vice Chair Miley, Vice Chair, and myself as Chair. And so, as I understand it, the recommended practice is that we serve for 2-year terms. And so the recommendation would be that the current Chair and Vice Chair would continue for 1 additional year. Colleagues, are there any questions, comments, or a motion?
I'd like to renominate Chair Kaplan as Chair for the next year and renominate Vice Chair Miley as the Vice Chair for next year.
Second.
Thank you so very much. We have a motion and a second. Let us check if there are any public speakers on the item.
For members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. At this point in time, I do not see anyone with their hand raised.
All right, we may call the roll.
Item 6B, resolution appointing Chair and Vice Chair of Board of Commissioners for calendar year 2024. A motion by Commissioner Jenkins to continue as Chair Kaplan as the Chair and Vice Chair Miley as the Vice Chair, seconded by Commissioner Iglesias. Commissioner Commissioner Halbert, how do you vote?
Enthusiastically, yes. Thank you both.
Commissioner Iglesias?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jenkins?
Yes.
Okay, and Vice Chair Miley, you'll be voting on the chair nomination?
Yes.
Yes. And Chair Kaplan, you'll be voting on Vice Chair nomination?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Thank you all very much. I greatly appreciate it and excited for the amount of progress we have been able to have and looking forward to much more. Thank you all very much. Mr. Miley, anything you'd like to add at this time?
Just appreciate all the great work you're doing as chair. Can just continue it because it lessens my load. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As well as your work as Vice Chair. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, and we may proceed to the next item.
I apologize. Did I take Commissioner Halbert's vote?
Yeah, you did.
Yes,
Okay.
he voted yes.
Thank you. Item 6C, resolution establishing Coliseum Advisory Board.
Madam Chair and members of the board, at your 2 previous meetings, you had a brief discussion about the creation of an advisory board. This is permitted in the joint exercise of powers agreement. For 27 years, the authority did not create the advisory board, but there was consensus that an advisory board could be beneficial in bringing recommendations to the board. The joint exercise of powers agreement provides that this advisory board may have up to 20 members. You did comment in your previous discussions that you thought that it wise to have a board up to with 8 members. 4 members would be appointed by the Oakland City Council and 4 members would be appointed by the Board of Supervisors. The agreement calls for the advisory board to report to the JPA board on a regular basis, but not less than each year. It also, we have determined, would require the advisory board to be in compliance with the Brown Act. And we will provide guidance to the board once that it is in compliance with the Brown Act. Subject to your approval of this resolution, I am instructed to notify the president of the Oakland Council and the president of the Board of Supervisors of your action, whereupon then they may take appropriate action. The role of the advisory board in the joint powers agreement is very broad. It does not specifically refer to sports. And so the assumption is that the advisory board may advise the JPA board on any matters that it deems to be important and relevant, and it'd be up to you to decide to act or not act on those various recommendations. I'd be happy to respond to any questions you have, and I defer to counsel if I've misstated what this is supposed to be doing.
Thank you so much. We can hear from our attorney. Anything to add on this?
I would just add that perhaps I didn't read it as being a broad scope of authority. I read the JPA agreement as providing a more narrow scope of authority, and that is, as it reads, to provide advice and recommendations to this body on matters your body deems appropriate relating to the operation of the Coliseum complex.
Okay.
So that's perhaps a more narrow scope, and it is within your direction to ask them to opine and advise on particular topics.
Thank you so much. And of course, we recognize that this would be an advisory body. And thus, even if they were to opine on other topics, they would not have the authority to enact such things. They would be providing advice that would come to this body, and which then, depending on the topic, would then go either on to the City Council and County Board of Supervisors if it's something that requires those authorizations. So this would be a group that would be able to bring some additional community wisdom and insight and ideas, which could be very helpful as we undertake planning for our future. But we recognize that this body would not have authority to enact their ideas. They would have to bring them to us. Exactly. Okay, so colleagues, questions or comments on the advisory board? Vice Chair Miley.
Yes. Will this body be able to meet virtually? Because that could be a bearing on who gets appointed.
As a Brown Act body, they would be required to meet in accordance with the various Brown Act laws on meetings, the same as your body. So while some of them could meet remotely, so they could have hybrid meetings where the public can participate remotely, but at least a quorum of the membership would have to be physically in one location in order to meet the criteria, as you all well know.
The quorum would be 5.
5 of 8 would be a quorum, yes.
May I ask a follow-up question, not to play lawyer, though I am one. My understanding is that under the new emergency teleconference provisions, a quorum has to be in person, but if someone were to participate under the traditional noticed teleconference provisions where they notice the address from which they're participating, as long as they're within the boundaries of the jurisdiction, which I believe would mean within Alameda County, they can be counted toward quorum?
Correct. You still need to have a quorum present and participating, and you have to have a physical location where the meeting can be held.
Okay, but individual members who found it difficult to come physically could participate through the old-fashioned noticed
with
teleconference
the posting and the making the space open and available to the public and ADA compliance and the other regular obligations.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Iglesias.
Thanks, ma'am. I just had a question on the number 8.
Yes.
I'm not sure how we arrived at that, and I mean I'm open to that, but I'm also just thinking about everything that's happening in East Oakland around the stadium, Rise East initiative, and land of the essential workers right here, in East Oakland, and making sure they have a voice. So I was thinking maybe like 12. I know that's it's not going to 20, but it's not going way over 8. Just maybe just to give us a little more flexibility on who gets appointed to this. If that's unmanageable, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Or are we pretty comfortable with 8?
So the suggestion is to consider potentially having a 12-member body, which is allowable under our joint exercise of powers agreement because it does allow up to 20. If we had 12, then that would mean 6 appointed by the county supervisors and 6 by the city council. So that is attainable. And I guess the issue would just be, I mean, obviously setting this table up for 12 is attainable. It's more a question of whether a quorum would show up. If it's 12, then a quorum would be 7. Colleagues, thoughts on the issue of potentially making it 12 rather than 8? Commissioner Miley, I know you've suggested for a while that we should undertake this advisory board. Do you have a position on how many members it ought to have?
12 is a big body, but 12 is a big body.
Well,
I'm just curious. It's, you know,
I'm fine. Who's going to staff this? Who's going to staff this body?
well,
How frequently will they be?
yes. I had commented previously that I thought that the advisory board would require very little staff support. As you increase this board, that increases it by a third. I also would I would recommend that you start with 8. Let's see how we do. It really will depend upon how frequently the advisory board meets and what they come back with in terms of recommendations, because one of the things that we do have to consider when they make a recommendation to you, my guess is that you're going to expect us to evaluate those recommendations and recommend that you either adopt them or modify them or reject them. And so I would just put that out there, that and remind you respectfully that you have a part-time executive director and a part-time executive assistant. That's it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this advisory body, it's Brown acted, so the meetings need to be posted, they need to be clerked, they need to be staffed. I mean, there will be a cost associated with it.
Similar to these meetings.
Right. I don't know if the members will get, a stipend or anything. Or,
No, they
there's no stipend.
okay, so nothing like that. Okay. But I do think there's some minimal cost associated with it. So once again, I have no problem going to 12, but maybe suggestion might be to start with 8.
Yeah.
See where that takes us.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good. I mean, I think start with 8, just kind of see
And see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have public speakers? Oh, we have Commissioner Halbert. Okay, let's hear from Commissioner Halbert.
Yeah, I just, a curious question. I maybe I should already know the answer to this, but does this body continue to exist, and or what this advisory body, if the transaction with the A's is consummated with the county, does that all go away, or does it continue on?
So what is before us today is to recommend appointment of an initial set of persons who would serve for 2 years, which is intentionally timed to coincide with the amount of time that we know it would exist. And then during this coming year, my anticipation is we would have further discussions about the longer term future and learn more about what intends to happen in 2026 and beyond. And so these people would be appointed for a term for which we know, and then during that time we would work out whether or not there would be a continuation.
Okay, I think that needs to happen. So very good. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Our attorney wishes to add something.
Yes, the provision in the joint powers agreement that authorizes an advisory board expressly provides that the members shall serve a 2-year term and they may be reappointed. That is why a 2-year term was selected. I also refer you to section 2 of the resolution that you are considering, which provides that the Coliseum Advisory Board shall continue to exist only for the existence of the authority, that is the Joint Powers Agency Authority, unless earlier terminated by resolution of the authority board. So when your body ends, your advisory body will end as well.
Yes, exactly. And so thank you so much. And so I would just note that the discussion about the intended future of this body is one that we will need to be having in more earnest in the coming year. But that the appointment of these persons for a 2-year term would not be impeded because it coincides with the time that we know it will continue to exist. And certainly in terms of the conversation we had last time about the EIFD and the potential long-term future of this site with public uses and a variety of functions to keep it alive and thriving, I think is very important and one that we will certainly be coming back to. And I want to thank Vice Chair Miley, who pushed strongly for us to undertake these discussions as well. Any public comment on this item?
For members of the public wishing to speak on this item, please raise your hand. After your name is called, you will have 2 minutes to speak. This time I see one member in the queue, that is Zinni Abraham. You've been allowed to speak. You have 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I want to thank at-large Councilmember Rebecca Kaplan for pushing this and Co-Chair Miley for getting behind her, because this has been dormant for decades, and it's something that's much needed, and it continues the legacy of the kind of operation we had under the late George Buchanan. But I also want to emphasize that it's very important that we have a kind of a training for advisory board members and board members regarding such things as conflict of interest in 1090. We've never had a training program for people who sit on here when you're bringing members in from different walks of life. Additionally, I think it's vitally important to set aside a seat for Visit Oakland, because too often there's reference to sports. We are in the facilities business. We have always been in the facilities business. We don't own a sports organization. So we need to change that thinking to what it really is so we can get better at doing it and catch up with the rest of the country. And on that, Visit Oakland has to do with hotels, and it has to do with visitations, and it's the perfect interface organization, and it should be with the JPA and whatever we perform it into, which really should be a stadium authority. But we really need to get on a track of really aligning this properly, not just filling seats. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last person in the container.
Okay. Is there a motion? Commissioner Miley.
Yes, I just wanted to speak based on what Zinni raised. So I know at the county, when we appoint a body, we make sure that there's conflict of interest training as well as Brown Act training. So I would expect that that's going to happen with this body. And then additionally, we also make sure the body has a sense of its enabling authority and expectations from the, in this case, it would be this JPA in terms of its creation. The other thing is, with some of our boards and commissions we create at the county, we also designate or give the authority to the supervisors to maybe appoint the chair for that advisory body. I don't know if we want to do that for this body, just to kind of get things rolling as well. So once the appointments are made to this advisory body, we can then designate who the chair is, or we can leave it up to that advisory body. So those are just some further thoughts that you want to throw out before we take the motion.
Thank you so much. Given that this is a half by the city, half by the county, I'm not sure we would have the authority to appoint the chair of it versus it selecting its own chair. I'll let the attorney opine on that, but I do agree that it would be important for the body to be provided with the relevant information as to their duties and legal obligations.
I believe if you amended the resolution to include the retention of the authority by your board to select the chair and perhaps vice chair of those who are appointed by the city and the county, that would be legally permissible. I don't know if Jamila Jefferson with the city attorney's office has a contrary position or is an agreement. Obviously, we haven't consulted on this issue, but I would think you would need to make a slight amendment, perhaps to section 1, referencing that the chair and vice chair of the advisory committee would be appointed by the authority board, if that is your pleasure.
Thank you. Commissioner Iglesias? No? Okay. Commissioner Riley, did you want us to add that?
I think it would be helpful because the appointments of the 8 members would be made then based on the 8 folks who have been appointed. The JPA could then designate who the chair and vice chair of the body would be at one of our meetings. That way that body could begin to act and discharge its responsibilities. So I think it's a good idea. So I'll take note. So what I'll do is I'll make a motion on the resolution with that would also include an amendment that the chair and vice chair for the advisory body be appointed or designated by the JPA.
Okay.
Madam Chair, with respect to Commissioner Miley's earlier comment regarding orientation and training, JPA Council and I have been having that discussion, especially given the need to be in compliance with the Brown Act and any other requirements, code of ethics, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you so much for that. So we have a motion to adopt it as amended. I will go ahead and second that motion. I see no other hands, so we may call the roll.
Okay, on the item 6C, resolution establishing a Coliseum advisory board with the amendment to for chair and vice chair of the board to be appointed by JPA, moved by Vice Chair Miley, seconded by Chair Kaplan. Commissioner Halbert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Iglesias?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chair Miley?
Yes.
Thank you. And Chair Kaplan?
Aye.
There's 5 ayes. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we'll go back to open forum.
Yes.
Okay. For members of the public wishing to speak on items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. And after your name is called, you will be given 2 minutes to speak. Mr. Abraham, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I'm going to take a time to just thank everybody for your performance and work in making sure this body really moves forward in the areas that it does, and painting a picture of a positive future. I'm more concerned about the dissolution of the JPA. I do think it should be reformed. That's a related story, but I just want to say thank you all very much. And I'm honored to know you all. I know I criticize a great deal. That's me, but I'm very proud of the work that you all have done. I just want you all to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no additional speakers in the queue.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And it's always nice to close on a note of support. I really want to appreciate the amazing team here and all the incredible hard work you've been doing that has been strengthening events and revenue and the functionality here. And I'm very pleased that we have undertaken this step in terms of the advisory board. Our next meeting is in January 19th, as per our adopted calendar, which has now been adopted. And I would just note, given all the questions, anytime we discuss anything, the question comes up, well, but for how much longer will this entity be functioning here, and for how much longer will this property be functioning in this way? And so I would just note that it would be important for us to continue those conversations with urgency in the coming year so that we can make sure that we have a good, solid plan going forward that protects jobs, protects revenues, and protects the public welfare in regard to this large, amazing, attractive, in-demand, and transit-oriented property here. So thank you all, and seeing no other hands, we are adjourned. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and happy holidays.
Well, that ends the meeting, the JPA meeting, folks. And it was a good one. It was very productive. Let me get some of your questions. I think some people refuse to give up on masks even after the testing said zero. I have no idea what that's about, Artie. A bit confusing there. At any rate, there's a lot that went on at this meeting, but the highlight for me, and really is the highlight, is this new advisory board. And if you are, as more often than not is the case, if you're new to this subject, given the amount of time it's been around, Ezra Rapport, the late Ezra Rapport, rest in peace, who was assistant city manager at the time in 1996, wrote the enabling legislation for the Joint Powers Authority. He didn't call it a stadium authority, though. And within it, he had the Coliseum Advisory Board. And the idea was essentially to take those people who had served on the Coliseum Board when George Rucassen was president. It was private and a privately financed facility, and move it over. It was privately financed but publicly owned, but move it over to the Joint Powers Authority framework. And that was never done. Now, you could say why? Well, some of it had to do with some, back and forth between the late George Rucassen and then Chairman Ignacio de la Fuente and District 5 council member and others who were using the opportunity to exact what some might call a power grab, all right, to right what they felt was wrong. I'm just being honest here in how the past structure, we had the Coliseum Board, did not make regular updates to city council. Now, that should have been written in legislation, but it was more of a courtesy. And in those days, in the 80s in particular, in the 70s and before that, it was customary to appoint your favorite business person to some board or commission, all right? And today it's a lot more formal, where you've got people who are elected officials serving on them as opposed to business, all right? And that speaks to a big change in how we've done things, which is a whole nother story, but related. But the Coliseum Authority was designed to be a kind of a catch for all of those people that served on it. Mary Warren, Rucassen, but George was so upset with the city of Oakland, he wanted nothing to do with the city. And it made it impossible for me to get him on my Super Bowl organization at the time, even though we were great friends, and to the point of enjoying Grey Goose occasionally, but I digress. So that it just sat there, and I kept advocating for it to be activated. Every time I get a chance, just activate. Finally, 1996 to 2023. Finally, we get it. We have it. Now, they're more concerned about, I think, who might sit in a certain chair. But my concern is how we use that device of an advisory board to get other organizations involved, like Visit Oakland. I really believe Visit Oakland needs a seat at the table. Because again, the Coliseum, JPA needs to recognize that it is in the facilities business. I know Nate loves to say we're getting out of the sports business, but they were never in the sports business. They never had to pay player salaries, for example. They never had to pay the rent for the facility. They didn't have to worry about marketing the sports organizations. They weren't dealing with negotiations. They weren't running the business. So to say that we were in a sports business is completely wrong. We just weren't. We were, and still are, in the facility business. And my point is, what I'm trying to do is get us to recognize that, so that our policy is focused on building, you get it, got it, better stadiums, better facilities, and also organizations that, or catalyze the development of organizations. For example, do you realize that there is the Women's Volleyball Corporation that's in 5 cities? I think Oakland will be a great 6th city candidate. I think it's 7th city candidate. There's football, okay, of different types, not just NFL football, but XFL, USFL. There's also tennis. Oakland has never had a tennis organization. And what I mean by that is the Oakland Tennis Classic, right? We have Wimbledon. We have tennis classics in cities like Paris, Roland Garros. Why not Oakland? Why not Oakland? Well, the great tennis players here, a great tennis demographic. We've never had that. The Coliseum is perfect for it. All right. That's what a sports commission does. That's why we need a sports commission, to really go out about not just attracting these types of activities, but also building companies, or assisting in the building of companies that would produce these activities, and then also catalyzing the construction of facilities, hotels, for example, and arenas and meeting rooms, where these and arenas like the one we have, so that we can serve these organizations and serve the constituency that wants to see them in action. These things should be in Oakland. We shouldn't have to get on a plane or BART to go someplace and see them. I don't care if it's San Francisco or Seattle. That's the idea. It's bringing all this home to Oakland, where it used to be, so that we can have a better city to live in. So with that, I think, let's see here. Have you considered offering your skills to the city of Las Vegas? We probably have 2, 3, 4 teams or stadiums. Already, there are a lot of really talented people in Las Vegas that are already filling those roles. So, I help on a casual basis, friends over there, giving advice here and there, unpaid. Well, in one case it should have been paid, but and I love Las Vegas, but thanks for that. I appreciate that. Athletics pays Oakland its debt. Well, yeah, but it's not so much athletics pays Oakland its debt. It's athletics buys the land. Okay, they bought the land. All right, it's not a debt. So get that out of your mind. And please, I'm going to write something about there again. It's not a debt. It is the final payment that the A's, the Athletics Investment Group, all right, is paying for the land. The Athletics Investment Group can own a number of properties around the United States or the world and still play in and build a facility in Las Vegas. All right. People need to understand that, because the lay idea is, well, the A's are moving and therefore they don't need the land. No, that's not the case at all. It's investment for them, and we want the economic development. Okay. So thanks. Yeah. So it's not a debt. It was the final payment. In other words, these are spread out payments for the land. But when they said, hey, we're moving, then the clock started moving, saying, okay, we're going to pay this. You got 180 days, right? And that happened roughly 2 weeks ago. So they paid it. They own the land. So they are one part of the equation. AESCG is the other part. So I think the Athletics are waiting for AASCG to fall apart. I really do. And then they'll come in and say, hey, look, we'll buy the whole thing. Okay. That could happen. All right. And what would they use it for? Well, hey, that's a very good question. And that's why I'm not in favor of it, because I think that we need public control. I don't want to give it all over to one private organization. The public should own it, and it should partner with a private organization to manage it. And it should do so at a time in Oakland when around the world, not just the United States, stadium districts are an economic development. It's the economic development belle of the ball. Okay. Why should we be on the outside of the ball looking in, right? We need to have our own bell in that ball. We don't right now. All right. When do you think the stadium, I'm going to guess the 18th of January, if not sooner. I'm still shocked that someone hasn't leaked them. The fact that they haven't been leaked, even though it's done, is a testament to the people involved and how they can keep a secret. So you think Fisher pays it? He did pay it, and try to scoop up the rest, use as collateral for Vegas and develop it. I think no, I don't. He doesn't use it as collateral for Las Vegas because it won't produce enough money to even think that. Well, it could, but in this instance, I don't believe that's what will happen. This is the Bay Area, all right? Anytime someone gives you that much property, prime property in the Bay Area, you don't just give it up. You have to think of it that way. I don't know where you live, but my point is the Bay Area has some of the most expensive property on earth. And arguably, the Coliseum is one of those areas, okay? So the mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf, basically gave the A's a gift in terms of that ENA and spread out payments for an organization that can easily pay them. Easily. And so, and they're not going to give that up. So why would you, as John Fisher, give that up when you know that you're going to be building a facility in Las Vegas that's going to generate $700 million in revenue its first year out and then go up from there? And at the same time, you've got facilities in Oakland for other types of sports events. You can be truly multi-state. There's no reason why they have to be in one place. The Oakland A's can be Las Vegas Athletics in Las Vegas. They can have soccer someplace else, maybe tennis or something else. You have no idea what's on their mind. But what is the focus of all this is the fact that they're a real estate organization that acquires land, and the Bay Area is prime property from a global perspective. That's what's going on. All right. Okay. Is this true or BS? What true or BS, Zach? I don't understand. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. You asked. I also heard they're looking at other sites. That's BS. No, that's BS because there's no need to do so. That's an Oakland produced rumor by people who don't want the whole thing to happen, to give the picture of uncertainty. But look, think about it this way. The design is done. Okay. A number of people have seen it, including the heads of MGM, whom very well may sponsor part of it. Wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, just like for Allegiant Stadium. All right. So the design is done. When the design is done, what does that mean? It means the site is settled. That's a settled issue. Okay. That is a settled issue. Anybody who repeats that to you, you should laugh at them or just not say anything at all. It is a settled issue. Where is it? Totally understand that BART stop is worth a ton. Absolutely. Yeah, you got BART, freeway, the airport's just right over there, right? My Lord. Sorry, Friday and lighthearted humor. Gotcha. All right, folks. Hey, Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Be kind to each other. All right. And thank you for joining me on this. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. God bless you. And back for more later. See ya.